Olá, bem-vindos ao Alomorfe e hoje temos mais um convidado especial. Temos o Adrian, do canal Langophilia, e hoje vamos falar sobre a língua da Albânia.
Yeah, hello everybody. I'm glad to be here. I will be presenting to you the Albanian language, and yeah, thanks for having me. And I will start then. So, the Albanian language, or in Albanian you could say Duha Shqipe. Duha means language and Shqipe is the adjective Albanian. This is the first part of our collaboration. So let me introduce you to the Albanian language. It is an Indo-European language and it forms its own branch. So there's no sister language like, say, German and English are sister languages of the Germanic branch. Albanian doesn't have any sister language. There are approximately 7 million native speakers in Europe mostly. It is spoken in Albania, in Kosovo, in some parts of North Macedonia, southern Montenegro, South Serbia, Greece, Italy, and many more countries in the diaspora, like in Switzerland and Germany, for example. There are two main dialects, Tosk and Geg. They are divided by a river called Shkumbin, which I will show you later in detail. The standard Albanian variety is based on the Tosk dialect from South Albania. So let's have a look at the dialects. In the reddish colors, you can see where the Tosk dialects are spoken. So mainly in South Albania, as well as in the southern part of North Macedonia, in Cham in Greece, as well as in South Greece actually, and in South Italy and on Sicily. The greenish parts form the Geg dialects, which are spoken in North Albania, in North Macedonia, South Montenegro, Kosovo, and South Serbia. In this video, we will be mainly talking about the standard Albanian forms, which are based again on the Tosk dialect. Now let's talk about some influences on Albanian. Albanian is still surrounded by many other Indo-European languages, so there's a lot of words from other languages. Like we can see here that 60% of Albanian words originate from Latin or Vulgar Latin.
This is English.
Yeah, that's something very impressive, I think, if we compare it to English, which has around 30% of words from Norman French, I guess. But here the influence from Latin is much bigger on Albanian. And you can see this in everyday words, which we use all the time, like in friend, meek, which comes from amikos, kryç for cross, lepur for rabbit, or also chen for dog, which comes from canis. Then there are many words from Turkish, Persian, and Arabic, like, for example, chai, tea, yastık, pillow, cep, pocket. And I think, I'm not sure, but I believe most of these words are still also the same in Turkish, for example, because of the reign of the Ottoman Empire. Then there are also many words from Slavic languages, like from Macedonian, Proto-Slavic, or Serbo-Croatian that came to Albanian, like, for example, kastravac, which means cucumber. In Serbo-Croatian, it is said krastavac. Then we have the word for walk, which is šetiće in Albanian. In Serbo-Croatian, it is šetnja. It came from there. And yeah, there are many words more. There are also some words which came from Italian, like the word for table, tavolin, which I think comes from the diminutive form of tavola from Italian. And then we have words like sfid, challenge from sfida in Italian, or gazette, newspaper, which comes from gazzetta, I think, something like this in Italian. And also other words like the word for background is sfond, which comes from sfondo, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so Italian had a lot of influence on Albanian, especially in Albania, I would say. Yeah, let's move on to the alphabet. So this is the Albanian alphabet. You can see there are many double letters, digraphs, which I will elaborate on now. So the first one you can see is the DH, which is pronounced the, like in the words the and velper, fox, ibarth, white. So it is, I think, also found in Spanish and English, of course, and in Icelandic, if I'm not mistaken. The other one the next one is GJ, which represents a J kind of sound, J, like in Jo, which means tongue and language, and in the name George, which is the Albanian version of George. The next one is the double L, which represents this dark L we also have in Portuguese and in English, like L, loi, which means sword, kind, or type, and ul, which means star. Then we have the NJ, which is a ny sound, like in ny one, or in banho, which means bathroom, I think similar to Portuguese and Italian. Yeah, and then we have the double R, like it is pronounced like a trill, like an R. We have words like rug, which means street, and actually I think you have a similar word in Portuguese, which comes from the same Latin root. I think something like,
What?
it is written. Huh?
What?
Yeah, exactly, this one. They are cognate.
What?
Yeah, and then we have the word for car in Kosovo, at least. They say ker, and the word for man, which is bor. So the next one is actually the same as in English, sh, which represents a sh sound. So like in she, rain, spät, fast, steht, nation, and kush, who. Then we have the th, which represents the voiceless interdental fricative th, like in English or Spanish and Icelandic, I think. Like in the, pig, or thix accent. Then we have an xh, which represents the j sound, like in jeb, pocket, jami, mosque, or filjan, cup. And the last one is the zh, which represents a j sound, like in jorm, noise, or cuisine, kitchen. Yeah, that's it for the alphabet for now. Now let's move on to phonology. Standard Albanian has 29 consonants and 7 vowels. Something special is that we have the rare interdental fricatives like the and th, like in English and Spanish, for example. And there's a contrast between a single R and a double R. So the single R is usually an alveolar flap, like r, and the double R is the trill r, which is the same distinction, I think, in Spanish and Armenian. However, nowadays the single R is often pronounced as a retroflex flap, some kind of sound, and the or as the approximant, like in English. Yeah, this is also
yeah. That's my game.
Yeah, this is also common, I think, in many standard Albanian varieties in South Albania. So yeah, this is becoming the norm, I think. Yeah. Then we have these 7 vowels: a, e, i, u, e, u, o. The schwa, which is usually presented by the e with the umlaut, like in the capital of Albania, Tiran, it is often not pronounced, especially at the end of a word, Tiran. You don't say Tirana. I think it was said formerly Tirana, something like that, but now this sound is often dropped. Also in the word for milk, so some people would say it as chumst, or in the word for joy, some people would say it as gzim, gzim. So it is not pronounced anymore, especially in Gig Albanian varieties. Also, I think in some Gig Albanian varieties, in some words, the schwa turns into a nasalized or kind of sound. But yeah, we will talk more about this in the second video, I guess. Then there are some morphosyntactic features. So in Toscan Albanian, in Standard Albanian, we don't have an infinitive. Instead, we use subjunctive constructions, like in the phrases I chose here. So if we say something like, I wanted to say, we say, doja të thoja. Doja means I wanted in the imperfect tense, and të thoja is the imperfect subjunctive. If we want to say, I want to say, we say dua të them. Dua is I want, and të them is the present tense subjunctive. And the same subjunctive is used for the future tense, do të them, I will say. Yeah, so I think this is very special in Albanian, or also in other Balkan Sprachbund languages. But yeah, usually in English and German, in Romance languages, you would have an infinitive construction here. Let's move on. We have 2 progressive forms, which I think mean exactly the same. So this is what native speakers told me. We can say po lexoj or jam duke lexuar for I am reading. Po is the progressive marker in the first one. So we could say po lexoja, I was reading. We can put it in front of any normally inflected verb, I think. Jam duke lexuar means the same as well, I'm reading. And here, if we want to say it in the past, in the imperfect, we would have to say isha duke lexuar, I was reading. So duke lexuar would stay the same. Now, yeah, we have 2 ways of forming the imperatives, like in Portuguese, I think. So we say either me haro for forget me, or we say harom. And here you can see again the schwa is dropped, harom. I think if you learn Standard Albanian with books from Albania, you would learn only the first variant, me haro. So the second one is more colloquial and informal, I would say.
In Portuguese, it's the opposite. The standardized one is the one that comes before the verb, and the informal one is the one that comes after the verb.
Okay. Yeah. I think especially in Gig Albanian varieties, the second one is rather used, and yeah, I'm still not sure how this is used, if this changes from region to region. I'm not sure, but it is interesting to have 2 ways of forming the imperative. Also, there's something called clitic doubling. So we have the accusative object, which is the book, librin, which is also indicated by a cliticon, which is put right in front of the verb e. So e kam lexuar librin means I have read the book. Kam lexuar means I have read, and e bears the same information as librin. However, you can also leave it out, so it is not obligatory, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, this is often used. Also, if we say I have read a book, we would say e kam lexuar një libër. So this is used as well, and also for dative objects, I think. Yeah. So next we have, something very unique, I think. Something special is that we use some kind of linking particles for adjectives. So some kinds of some adjectives need this linking particle, like we can see here. The tall boy is here. We would say Djali ijad është këtu. Djali means the boy. Ijad, tall. Është is këtu, here. If we would change it to the tall girl is here, we would say Vajza, the girl, e jad. So it would become an e instead of an e. And yeah, this is just a normal thing to do, but not all adjectives need this kind of linking particle, I would say. And yeah, I think it's very unique and uncommon in the European languages. I've seen something similar happening in Persian, but yeah, I'm not sure where this comes from exactly. But yeah, this is something special.
Does Albanian have any grammatical cases?
Yes, it has 5 cases.
5 cases: nominative, accusative, dative, genitive,
and ablative.
And
ablative.
Ablative. Is the ablative used just like in Latin?
Oh, I'm not sure. My Latin knowledge is almost gone. But yeah, I think it is used if we want to say that we are coming from, or if we are afraid of something. But often the ablative has the same forms as other cases, I think. I'm not sure right now. But
that's okay.
Yeah, these 5 cases are used, still common. Okay, now I would like to show you an example. So this text is taken from the Bible, from Genesis 1, the first 3 lines, and I will show you how this is read out by a native speaker from Vlorë, which is a coastal city in South Albania.
Në fillim Perëndia krijoi qiellin e tokën. Toka ishte pa trajt, e zbrazët, dhe errësira mbulonte sipërfaqen e umnerës. Dhe fryma e Perëndis fluturonte mbi sipërfaqen e ujrave. Pastaj Perëndia tha: U bëf të drita, dhe drita u bë.
Yeah, that was it. We will have a second part with a focus on Gig Albanian on my channel. And yeah, that's all.
Thank you again, Adrian. It was really cool. I think there isn't a great number of people who know at least a bit about Albanian. It's not a very mainstream language. And it's really cool to see how it is clearly Indo-European, but it's its own branch. It's so, wow. How does it still exist?
Yeah, that's true, yeah, well, thanks for having me. I hope you liked the video, and yeah, we will see you again on my channel for the second part.
Yeah. Então, se gostasse de aprender sobre o albanês, curte esse vídeo, compartilha nas redes sociais, segue-nos também nas redes sociais. Se não for inscrito, te inscreve aqui no Alomorfe e, como sempre, salve!